And it goes a little something like
You all summer and after I'll keep you all summer and after I'll keep.
This kid was missing for 4 years before police actually found out what was happening. This is Sean Horbeck on October 6, 2002. He left his bike outside just like any 11-year-old would. But what he didn't know was a white truck was following him from behind. The man inside this truck would show Sean pure torture. Michael Devlin was patrolling open roads for young victims when he finally found someone he could capture, Sean Horbeck. As Sean was riding his bike, Devlin hit him with his truck and knocked him off, and took him in his car. He put him in the van and took him to his apartment, where he tied Sean up. Then Devlin decided to do the worst thing possible. He tried to strangle Sean Horbeck to death. When he was being strangled, Sean pleaded for his life and told him that he'd do anything he wanted. Surprisingly, Devlin agreed. And then things started to get weird. For the next 4 years, no one knew where Sean Horbeck went. That's because Michael Devlin had a huge secret. He was able to find a way to hide Sean, and nobody thought anything of it. Until one day someone saw something. Like and follow for part 2.
A little girl kept misbehaving, so her parents decided to call a clown to come and scare her. His name is Wrinkles the Clown, and he's a homeless man in Florida. Parents all over Florida pay him to come and scare their children. But what he did to this little girl has shocked the internet. While she was asleep, he hid under her bed and slowly snuck out when she didn't even notice.
No one would believe this story if there wasn't a video. In 2013, a rogue wave capsized a tugboat, killing 11 of 12 men on board. The 12th man was flung into the hallway, which was already filled with water. Panicked, he starts swimming towards the exit, but accidentally goes into the engine room where he finds an air pocket. And there this poor man sat, listening to the sounds of these huge sharks fighting over the bodies of his friends just on the other side of the wall. Total darkness, no food or water 100 feet below the surface. 3 days later, one of the divers that was sent down there to retrieve their bodies sees a hand.
Found one, yeah? He's alive, he's alive. Okay. All right.
Harrison O'Keen survived the ordeal and plans on writing a book.
Warning, if you get scared very easily, this video is probably not for you. This is one of the scariest girls in the world, and this is why. So I'm sure a lot of you know about the movie The Orphan, right? Well, it was based on true events, which makes it even more creepier. This is the real girl who pretended to be an orphan. She was a 33-year-old grown woman who had a disability that made her look like a child. So she acted like one and got adopted to these two sisters who were schizophrenic. She was so psychologically messed up that she literally convinced the sister to torture her own sons. Long story short, the cops found out what was going on. They came and arrested the two sisters and saved the boys. But then, this is when it gets super creepy. That's when the cops found her crying near the boys and thought that she was a child too, and sent her back to an adoptive home, where she went missing. No one knows where she's at.
This was the day that someone attempted to kidnap my sister. So my family and I went on a trip to Paris back in 2014, I believe. And on one of the days, we really wanted to go see the catacombs. And I don't know if this is normal, but there was a super long line there, and they told us we had to wait for about 2 to 3 hours. So to pass the time, we were sort of just exploring, walking around the streets, looking at stuff. And my sister and I were probably walking about 10 meters in front of my parents. Now, this was a very crowded area. People were everywhere. We were like a can of sardines or something. And suddenly this man in the crowd grabs my sister's arm and starts pulling her through the crowd of people. And I was the only one closest to her, so I started screaming, going after this man. I even started kicking him. And I was so weird that I was gonna lose her in this crowd. Well, my dad saw us screaming, he ran over and he threw this guy across the road. I'm not even kidding. The man ran away and I just cannot believe that happened.
A boy once wanted to be a musician. His parents told him he had not their permission. It isn't realistic. You could be a physician. We'll pay your tuition. Do music on the side and follow our vision. He would have been the best, but he went to school, got a job at his parents' behest, and the world was void of the music he possessed. Unlike the rest, but he never scratched his itch. And on his deathbed he said, I wish.
Right, let's do this. Story time. This is why you should always listen to your gut. This story happened to me when I first started as a realtor. So if you are new to real estate, especially if you're a girl, you will be meeting strangers. This is a story you want to listen to. Okay, so on a random Sunday afternoon, I got a call from a guy wanting to look at a house that I had on the market. Interested buyer, nothing weird about it. So I went ahead and asked him some preliminary questions. He answered some of them okay. And then now that I think about it, and now that everything happened the way it did, he didn't answer the other ones as good as I would have expected. So anyways, when I got off the phone, I had this unsettling feeling. I was like, something about that was kind of weird. So I did some research, looked him up to make sure he wasn't a weirdo. Nothing came up though, so I went ahead and met up with him. So anyways, Tuesday comes around. Okay, so I still have the unsettling feeling as I'm on the road to meet up with him. Part 2.
Taking this off and telling a story. One Christmas night many years ago, some kids were playing outside and they were all having a very good time. They were all waiting for Santa to arrive and they were just overjoyed with excitement with all the gifts they're getting tomorrow. They all decided to play a game and summon Santa Claus. They remembered a story their parents told them about how to summon Santa Claus, and they thought it would be a good idea to see what kind of gifts they are getting tomorrow. They do the whole ritual, and something does not go as planned. Instead of summoning Santa Claus, they summon a witch. But not just any witch, a Christmas witch. She says, "You should never play around with magic." She says a spell, and the kids disappear. None of them were ever seen again.